Welcome to another episode of Apex Mountain. This week's actor is the late Bill Paxton. Let's go.
Honey, this is a tissue of lies. See, there was another Bill, an evil Bill, and I killed him.
It says here you were caught impersonating an officer. It says here you'd likely try to make an outside call, even compromise secure this operation. Anything to get out of combat duty tomorrow. But that's not gonna happen. Ever. Private Cage.
You like that? You're gonna love this. Ready, man? Check it out. I am the ultimate badass. Yeah. State of the badass art. You do not want to fuck with me.
I think this guy's a couple cans short of a six-pack.
Hey, what are you doing, man? Hey, what are you doing? Come on, quit messing around, Drake. Come on. Bishop? Hey, man.
Do it, Bishop.
Hey, not me, man.
Yeah, you.
Hey, come on, quit messing around.
Don't move.
Come on.
It's finger licking good. We're on express elevator to hell. Going down. Till things go wrong, you can't explain it. You can't predict it.
Killing yourself won't bring your dad back. Sorry he died, but it was a long time ago. You gotta move on. Stop living in the past and look at what you got right in front of you.
What are you saying?
Me, Joe.
Welcome back to another episode of Apex Mountain. I am your host, Jacob Lindgren, and with me as always, Tanner and Zach. How are you two doing?
Doing good, man.
Very well.
Good. Well, before we talk about whatever two movies we're going to do, because we were confusing last episode, I'm going to go with some Bill Paxton information to lead us off. Bill was born 10 years and 88 miles away from our last actor in Fort Worth, Texas, May 17th, 1955. The age of 8 years old, he was in the crowd when President JFK emerged from Hotel Texas in Fort Worth on November 22nd, 1963, which some listeners will know is the day that JFK jumped on a 15-minute flight to Dallas for a motorcade where he was assassinated. Paxton later on worked with Tom Hanks to co-produce a movie about this called Parkland. His nickname growing up was Knuckles, which is very random. I found a couple quotes from being interviewed throughout his career that I liked. One, he said, "I've always loved movies about con men. I think con men are as American as apple pie." And he also said, "I don't believe there are heroes and villains ultimately. I believe people are capable of great villainy and great heroism. The same exact person." He had open heart surgery February 2017 due to damaged heart valve, and sadly 11 days later died of a stroke at just 61. He was nominated 29 times and won 6 awards during his career for both acting and producing. Yeah, and this episode we're going to talk about Apollo 13 and aliens. Which one do you guys want to start with?
Let's do aliens.
Okay.
Drake, what are you doing, man? Bishop.
What are you doing, man? Not me.
Not me, man. If he
Man,
said man at the end of one more sentence in that movie, I was going to lose my mind.
honestly, I've had like a whole different view on him after watching other movies other than like the movies I like to see him in. Now I just like his voice is hard for me to listen to a lot of the time.
Just for anybody who didn't watch the movie and is just listening because they enjoy us, this is the second of the Alien movies. That's why they're called Aliens, not confusing at all. After floating around for 57 years, Ripley is shuttled into deep space and accidentally found by a salvage team.
So Johnny Weaver.
Yeah. And, she finds safety and ends up feeling like she has to go back, finish what she started, that kind of thing. I don't know if I buy all that, but we can talk about that in a minute. They find a 9-year-old girl, which they call Newt, who was maybe the best actor / actress in the whole movie. Battle-hardened Marines, and they're fighting their way out of here, and there's big James Cameron explosions, and we get out just in the nick of time. It was a fun movie. I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm glad I picked it because I had not seen it till this point.
Yeah.
The original Alien, but it was so long ago, I don't really have an opinion on it other than that I know it's a classic. What did you guys think about it? Glad I picked it, or good Lord, it's 2.5 hours?
It took me, I was like kind of dreading it because I don't know, maybe I've seen the first one a long, long time ago, but I was like, all right, here we go. And it was way more sci-fi than it was like gory alien-esque, you know what I mean?
Agree.
And I like that, and I was glad that that's what it was and not some crazy, scary, like just gory type of alien movie or something. So
right.
No, I was glad, and I really liked how Sigourney Weaver was in the movie, honestly. I think I like a lot of movies that she's in. But Bill Paxton, I don't know. I think he went down in my book after this one.
Right. I think he did what he was asked to do. I think, they wanted over-the-top, meathead, dumb Marines and to be over the top and kind of have that A-team feel to it where like half of it's just them getting ready for the fight, and then the fight itself really doesn't matter.
How he won an award for that, too, it makes me wonder. He got some award for being the best supporting actor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad that he's in it so I could use it somewhat as an excuse to watch it. I don't know who else we're going to do. If we do Sigourney Weaver, we're just going to do all the Alien movies. So, I'm glad that, like I said, I'm really glad that I did pick it. And I was going to comment too, Zach, you said that you were kind of looking for that goriness and was kind of, not looking forward to that. But the main difference that most people would know is the director of Alien is Ridley Scott, but the director of Aliens is James Cameron, and there's distinct differences between those two. They're not comparable in the grand scheme of things, really, as far as directing goes. Ridley is more about visuals and the world, and there's a little bit more wonderment, kind of a Star Wars feel to it, where he's really laying the groundwork of these movies. And I'm sure there's going to be some people who really care about the Alien franchise that are listening to this. We're coming at this as just like a one-off. We're watching it because it's interesting. We're watching it for the sake of
Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton. But at the same time, we're not trying to get everything right. We don't know anything past the fact that they're called xenomorphs. So be kind to us. But anyway, James Cameron, he's more of a story-based, builds up women leads, just like he did in what was that movie? The chain of movies, the Disney films.
That he's in?
No, he's not in. He directed. God, I'm gonna look it up really quick because it's driving me crazy.
Well, in case anybody else is
Avatar.
wondering,
Sorry.
I don't much care for sci-fi movies, but this was okay. I'd watch it again. It was very like 80s type of movie where you could tell everything was fake, like as far as them flying in space and everything.
Yeah.
But when I put everything, obviously, you put that behind you, I thought it was a pretty good movie.
You know what? I just looked it up. This movie, as I was watching it, I was like, this has a real like Avatar-y feel to it. Like the movie Avatar from 2009. And wouldn't you know it, James Cameron directed that one too. Like all the way up to that machine where they're like lifting.
That was where I was stumbling to get to a minute ago. Yeah.
Like that. Oh, and he did Terminator too. So he likes aliens and futuristic sci-fi stuff.
And we're back. We took a short break because Jacob sounded terrible. We think he got
a little bit better now.
We got his mic set up better now. Let's continue, Jacob.
Well, before my shitty quality rudely interrupted Zach, I think we were talking about James Cameron and his history in sci-fi. I don't really know how to jump right back in, but yeah, it is. He does have this. He does have this, constant flow to him, as most great directors do. You can tell when it's his film before you look it up, and that's why you felt that Avatar vibe and you felt the Terminator vibe. It's because he's good at what he does, and he does it over and over again. So
That's right.
right.
Was this his first movie? No, The Terminator was his early one.
I think the Terminator was before, but I didn't look a lot of him up, so I know I could be very wrong.
I see The Terminator was 84. This movie was 86. The Abyss was 89. Ooh, what another good movie.
Was The Terminator his first movie?
Terminator might be his first one, which is impressive if that's the case.
Hit the ground running.
This guy might be right up there with Nolan.
Some all-time greats. Yeah, he's definitely a fan favorite for sure. I don't know how high I'd put him, but I love all of his movies, so can't say I don't like him.
He did Star Wars Episode 4.
Mm.
Wow. And Point Break.
Good movie.
Man. Shoot. This guy. And he is a Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, and he is a Sylvester Stallone fan, as you can tell. Yeah.
So this movie had a pace to it, and I know we've already brought up once that it's made in 1986. It has a 1980s feel to it. There's no doubt about that. Did you guys feel the energy that he was going for? Did you guys feel tense watching the movie, or did it kind of feel dated enough to where it kind of took you out of it?
I'd never seen it before, so to me it was like the whole what's going to happen next type of thing. Right. I think the was it scare factor, I guess, that make you jump a little bit. I'd say that was there. It was very interesting to say the least.
Zach?
Like I said, I kind of looked up the movie a little bit before I watched the movie, so I kind of had a general grasp of what was going to happen. But I was like, okay, I feel like they're trying to be suspenseful here, but because it's an older movie, it's not as suspenseful as newer movies are. But
it's just not going to pack the same punch. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah, but it was still like it had that like jumpy feel to it and some of the things.
Sure. There's another thing too that I noticed that. I always kind of take a mental note too, but it's not like it's a bad thing. But in this time frame of action movies, when they are doing like a climax of a gunfight, you really don't see that many faces. You just see kind of explosions, flash frames. A lot happens at once, but yet nothing really happens as far as what you're seeing versus what you're hearing. Yeah. James Cameron's pretty good at this. This happens a lot in this time frame as well as movies that he's made. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that we're kind of used to seeing a different version of this in newer movies. So, it's something that I can definitely pick out whenever I see a 1980s movie like this. So I thought it was interesting.
Oh, he wrote it too. He wrote it and directed it?
Right.
Wow.
Right. He did the screenplay, right?
Yeah.
Well, I know we
turned it into more of a Cameron review than it is.
Right. And I was just getting ready to switch gears. So, we've already kind of said beating around the bush. We really didn't like how Bill Paxton was in this movie. Do you think it has to do with the screenplay and kind of what his job was on the set, or do you think it was actually him performing poorly?
Sorry, I disagree. I enjoyed his acting in this. I thought he was pretty funny.
Okay, good. I'm glad that you said that. I was actually going to argue on his side a little bit too. He's really the only part of the movie that has any levity at all. Yeah, he's kind of necessary for that very reason. Otherwise, you're just going to get constipated being tense for 2 hours. Yeah. So he's kind of important in that regard. Although some of his lines are just eye rolly.
Yeah,
I think he did his job.
Yeah, I'll bring up some quotes on his when that time comes. Zach, do you want to talk about what you didn't care for?
No, I liked his. I think he did his job. I just think that it sucked that it was Bill Paxton and it wasn't somebody else. But I think he's probably the type of actor that would do that would be good to put into that role to kind of ease the tension throughout the movie, because you're like, who is it? And then like being in the military, like I'm like, yeah, I could probably put a face,
a name to that face.
like there's always a guy like that. So I think he did his job.
So I might put you guys on the spot, but real quick, who would you put in that spot instead of Bill Paxton?
I really didn't have one in mind. I thought he did an okay job. I thought his what he was asked to do was just a little corny in general. It really wasn't his fault, and I thought he was fine in it. It's just there's some parts that are a little cheesy, and I don't think that's on him.
Yeah.
So I don't have a replacement. Do you, Zach?
No, I couldn't think on the spot. Watch it. Give me till the end of the episode, and then maybe
Tanner, since you asked, what do you?
No idea. I liked him, so
Put Christian Bale in it, right?
Christian Bale.
As the just over serious guy that's just mad all the time.
It would be kind of fun to see Christian Bale attempting to be goofy because I think it would hurt him physically to be silly on set.
Probably.
So
he'd probably have a rant like he did on last episode.
Right. Yeah.
It was a fun movie, and honestly, it gave me this feeling that I expect out of Star Wars. I think it's because Star Wars is so hyped up and everybody loves it, and if you don't like it, the internet will crush you for it. So, but it has this feeling. I'm not saying I don't like it. Whoa. But it has this like feeling at the end, especially when she's fighting it and it gets sucked out at the end, and there's this big cinematic, over the top sci-fi action. That's the kind of feeling that I expect out of the highest level sci-fi movies, and I think that this is a classic for a reason. I would argue certain portions of it are better than Alien, but I need to watch Alien again before I can start making claims.
Yeah, see, I can't even compare it. I've never seen the first one. So.
I've never seen any of them. I think I've seen like Alien versus Predator, maybe.
Right.
But other than that, yeah.
Right. And I don't know if you guys know, and maybe one of you or both of you have watched it, but there's a director's cut of this, and it's supposed to be way better. There's scenes in it that got cut out. That I think they just did because the movie's already floating around 220 in like a theater version.
Yeah. So I almost watched that version, and I decided not to.
Right. There's a couple scenes in it that I think are very helpful. One, at the beginning, they show the planet before it's destroyed by aliens. And I think that would be really helpful because it shows it shows Newt running through tunnels and being kind of sneaky and clever with her friends, and it gives you a feel of her instead of it just being like, oh, a kid made it. That's a 1 in a million. Like they kind of lead you in the direction of it actually making sense. Been nice if that was in there still.
Yeah, I got that feeling watching it because like how much detail they talk about when they're going through for the first time. They're like, oh, it looks like they had a battle here, and it looks like they did all this. I'm like, you could almost make an Aliens 1.5,
right?
Where it's like it just talks about the people in that colony and what they did and had to deal with for those 50 some years that she was out in space. And I'm like, that you could almost throw that in there and to get to know that. But if the director's cut covers some of that might be good.
The uncut version of this movie was a full 3-hour movie, and obviously he's not going to get away with that, and he kind of did it on purpose because for one, he's over the top, but two, that gives flexibility on changing plot lines without feeling like it's empty. I guess you don't technically need that beginning lead up on how the planet looks, but I think it certainly helps. And if anybody out here hasn't seen this movie yet and they're going to watch it after listening to this, look for that. It's only 10 minutes longer, 12 minutes longer, something like that, and it's worth it. So that scene's in it, and that's really helpful. There's also a scene towards the beginning, too, where Weaver is kind of reminiscing, or not reminiscing is not the right word. She's grieving, I guess, because she finds out that her daughter had died while she was frozen. She said to her daughter in the first movie, I believe, that she'd be back in 10 years or something like that. And obviously she was frozen for 57. And her daughter died while she was gone. And then that's why there's this maternal connection between her and the little girl. As I'm saying it now, it seems so obvious. Like, why wouldn't you put this in the movie? But when you watch the movie, there really isn't anything that you can take out. And it's hard to talk people into going to an over 2.5-hour movie at the theater. But again, if you're going to watch this movie, watch that.
Especially in 1986, like movies were just shorter.
Right. Right.
Nowadays, that's the norm.
What did you guys think about the aliens? I thought they looked great considering the time.
Yes.
Boy, they were creepy.
They are definitely creepy. I question their intelligence, though. They're kind of fun because they can work elevators, but whenever the building's beeping and there's going to be explosions and fires, they seem a little oblivious. So when it looks at that elevator and then they zoom in on its face and it's like, huh, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Definitely getting in that elevator. It was a fun movie. I mean, did you guys actually enjoy it? Would you have watched this if I hadn't picked it?
If without seeing it, probably not.
probably not, just too old and there's
Well,
better stuff.
And I think that's one reason I like starting this podcast is because I'm watching movies that I probably wouldn't have otherwise seen that I'm glad I am seeing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
I think I would watch Alien versus Predator without seeing any of them because I feel like I have, but I can't remember it at all. But this one I don't think I would have. It's just old and I don't know.
Arnold's in Predator, right?
He's in Predator.
I don't know.
I think he's in Predator.
I think he's in Predator, but Predators versus Aliens is...
Is it him or Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, that's Arnold.
I'm sorry. What's his name? Stallone is what I meant.
It's one of them.
Anyway, guys, don't kill us.
This is a nice tangent.
Yeah. But anyway, they bring them together to make Aliens versus Predators.
See, I'd have to see Predator and...
Was there any scene that really stepped out to you guys as something that you will remember, I suppose?
Probably whenever they're trying to get her on board and she keeps saying no. And then she's FaceTiming him, which is probably a first.
Right.
And she says, you're going out there to destroy them, right? Not to study them, not to bring them back, but to wipe them out. He says, yes, you have my word. And then totally
the second he says that, you're like, well, he's going to be a piece of shit.
Right.
So it's like immediate.
Yeah.
I had a lot of scenes that I really like. I mean, like I said earlier, this is a classic for a reason. There's a lot of parts to it. There's a lot of noises even that when you hear the noise, even if you haven't seen this movie, you're like, I am in the middle of an alien movie.
Yeah. Yep.
The clickers, anytime that they had out the monitors, that was always suspenseful. I had my TV volume up to about the max it'll do just to like intensify it a little bit. I'm not at a theater, but I wish I was for a movie like this. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of great scenes.
Actually, I was thinking about that. In Colorado, they had a place where you could go for $5. It was called the Movie Tavern in Aurora, Colorado. And they'd play older movies for $5 on like Saturdays at like 10 a.m. And that would be awesome to see some movies like this, like in that situation. That'd be cool.
Definitely. Was there any, kind of quotes or anything that you guys thought were funny or that kind of stuck out to you guys?
This one probably, I think I think Bill Paxton says a lot of funny things.
Yeah.
But I mean,
game over, man. Game over.
Game over. But like,
what the fuck are we gonna do?
Like Burke, where he's like, I made a bad call. We're like, yeah, you made a bad call.
Yeah, you
or like the platoon sergeant there that he said, somebody wake up Hicks. Like he's just like constantly going back and forth. I like.
I know you guys are not, either one of you, currently futuristic Marines, but how did you guys feel about how incredibly lackadaisical this group was? None of them had the same outfits on. Some of them had bandanas on that I know for a fact are not standard issue. Half of them don't have helmets on. They all have different guns. I don't know how Bill Paxton's even made it this far to be on an elite squad because the second something goes sideways, he's crying.
Why don't you put her in charge?
I mean, good Lord.
They're like, yeah, I think she's seen an alien. Whoa, whoop the fucking do.
And then Vasquez, they wake up from a sleep that we don't know how long it's been, that we just know it's been a while. And the first thing Vasquez does is get out of the tube and start doing pull-ups. I'm like, what is happening right now? This is like if you asked an 11-year-old what Marines are like.
Yes. So yeah. This is, I was like, I remember at the beginning, he's like, I got another question. He's like, how do I get out of this outfit? It's like,
none of them even look the same.
Yeah.
He says, you may not be keeping up with current events, man, but we just got our asses kicked, pal.
Oh, yeah. It's
get away from her, you.
I know one thing for sure. They said at the beginning, like, she's trying to explain herself and no one really believes her because there's no way that aliens can exist that they don't know about. It's just like foolishness for they're just trying to show like, businessmen that don't understand anything.
Right.
And I get that no one believes her, but then they send her, which means they have to have some level of believing to her. Will you give her like a pin so she can explain what this parasite is? Because for me, if I'm talking to her and she says, yeah, it's a parasite that'll lay eggs in your face, like to me, okay, when you think of a parasite, you think of something you can't see at all, or like some kind of oversized insect or something
Like
creepy like
ringworm or
that.
something.
Yeah,
You don't think of a weird scorpion, spider, octopus monstrosity of an animal. Like, someone give her a pen so she can draw this thing or something. They
Yeah.
went in completely blind, and they brought her as an expert. All right, Sigourney, start showing us what we're getting into.
Yeah. Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away? Like,
Guys, didn't you know what we're coming after? So at the very beginning, whenever she's like dreaming and that she's in the hospital bed and the
yeah.
alien comes out of her. So my wife's sitting there like doing her homework, not paying attention, but she looks up and then she looks at me and she goes, "This can't be real. They don't allow cats in hospitals." And I was like, "Babe, it's science fiction."
And also, if you find somebody that was frozen with a cat for 57 years, you're probably going to let her keep the cat.
Right. Guess she don't like cornbread either. There was some funny ones. I was like, it was pretty good for a science fiction movie. Like, yeah, I mean, those were towards the beginning, but
I was gonna say too. I know that they're gonna keep the aliens looking like people just to kind of, cut the edge a little bit, because you know that there's gonna take a huge amount of time for people to become okay with aliens without having kind of an iRobot situation. So, you know that they're going to make them look like people, but like if you're going to send one to a war zone or somewhere where you're going to fight aliens you don't understand, can we make them like double jointed or like have 8 legs or have something cool that's like helpful? Like, okay, you got a regular person that just does.
True story.
Right.
You froze up there a minute there, man.
I did.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shoot, that was me.
Me and Zach were just faces like.
Sorry. Well, I don't really remember what I was saying. Oh, I was complaining about the aliens.
Yeah.
Let's make them cool. Let's make them double jointed or have guns attached to their bodies, or something like helpful.
Yeah.
We're not just gonna like send basically another person that only half the people trust.
Hey,
It's
listen.
kinda weird.
I think James Cameron heard you, and then made Terminator 2 and 3. Where
Right.
these guys, I mean, and all
He
of his
heard me
other movies,
complaining.
they're pretty cool. So,
Right.
you must not be the first person to have said that to him.
Hey, you're probably right. I don't know. They'd just be helpful if they had some kind of cool trick under their sleeve. But in reality, it's just a person that bleeds milk instead of blood. Also, I have a question, and I'm not making fun of them anymore. Do they drink their power? Because I don't see them like plugging him into a 9-volt. Like, does he eat? I don't really understand. Anyway, we'll keep moving.
We can get James Cameron on here. We can ask him.
I'm sure he cares
Anybody
a lot
knows
about what I'm.
Anybody knows Mr. Cameron or Kurt Cameron or Candace Cameron? Any Cameron really? Just let us know.
Also, if somebody's read all the comic books and read all the lore, go ahead and just email us, because
Yeah,
I am actually interested. So, but I don't want to read everything. So, do the work for me. Thanks. Do you guys have any
You can
quotes?
call in or give us an email or something.
Yeah,
Quotes.
And while you're there, check us a buck.
Yeah, I think I named all my quotes already. I think. Why
I have
don't you
one.
just put her in charge then.
I have one more. The sergeant who wakes up out of at the beginning, he wakes up out of the frozen chamber. He's like, another glorious day in the corps. A day in the Marine Corps, like a day at the farm. Every meal a banquet, every paycheck a fortune, every formation a parade. I love the corpse.
Core.
He said corpse, I think.
Core.
Did he say corpse?
Yeah, I think he said corpse.
Well, he's wrong.
Well, he's way wrong.
This is the futuristic Marines, or whatever the hell they want to be.
They're just a bunch of corpses.
Okay, well, let's rate this bad boy and keep it moving, because I'm excited to talk about Apollo 13.
Me too.
I'll lead off with my opinion about the movie. I mean, it's a classic for a reason. I love it. I'm going to watch it again. 8.4 for me. Zach?
I'm going to actually put this one pretty high, because it really put my expectations, or it exceeded my expectations. So I'm going to give it a 7-7.
I knew we were gonna kick those rookie scores out of you and get some points. All right, Tanner, what do you think?
7.4.
Okay, that averages 7.8. Acting ability. We're talking about Bill Paxton here.
Just Bill.
Oh, Billy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a flat 4. Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I could go back and forth on this just because he did his job.
Yep.
But
Agreed.
also, yeah, so I'll give him a 5. I'll give him a 5.
So he was supposed to be the arrogant asshole bro type of the 80s.
Would have loved that.
I think
Right.
I think he did that. I'm going to give him a 6.5.
Okay, that averages out to a 5.2, which I think is very fair. Rewatchability, again, classic. I'm gonna go with 8.1. Zach,
I'm gonna call you and raise you to an 8.2.
love this. Tanner, I'm gonna go with a 4.
6.9.
Nice. Okay, and because you did that, I think you did it on purpose and you're doing the math. Aliens comes out to a 6.9. Nice. Okay.
Man.
All right. One more thing before we move on. I thought Carrie Henn, who was the little girl, did an awesome job.
Yeah.
Because normally little girls or any little kid, period, is a little annoying in movies. They seem kind of ham-fisted and just not very fun. And she did an awesome job. Every single scene she killed. Do you guys feel the same way?
Yeah, I thought she did very well.
I always get impressed with little kids having to play like a role in a movie like that. Like even her very first thing, she's like, "They're dead. Can I go now?"
Yeah.
Like
staring out into space, really looking shell shocked. I mean, that was great.
Definitely.
And even when they cut some of the scenes out, her and Ridley's relationship was so believable. And her going back for her, I thought made sense, even though like in normal circumstances you would just cut your losses, I think, to not kill everybody. But since we're talking about a sci-fi movie, I think going back made sense. And I thought that was the best part of the movie. And I think that's actually what James Cameron's good at, is building these relationships and strong female leads. And I thought it was the best part. I was blown away by how good she was. She never acted again, by the way, and she's a 4th grade teacher now. So,
all
right.
Interesting.
That's what she tells her kids. Guess what I did before I was teaching kids?
Right.
I was in the movie Aliens. Go home and watch
and then I stopped being a movie star to work with you little assholes.
Yeah.
Guess what we're going to tell our kids when they're older?
Aliens.
When we're older, we're going to say, "Kids, guess what I did when I was in my mid-20s? Started a podcast. You know why I started a podcast? Because I like hanging out with my buds. Buzzsprout made that happen for us."
Chuck us a buck.
Buzzsprout is super easy to use. If the listeners out there want to start a podcast, I'm telling you, Buzzsprout is very easy. They pretty much did everything for us. I can set the podcast to say, let's publish this time on this date, and it happens. If you guys go ahead and join Buzzsprout and get the paid subscription, you get a $20 Amazon gift card after the second paid invoice. So think about that. If you've been wanting to start a podcast for a while, maybe now's the time to do it. With that, Jacob, let's lead right in.
Okay. Apollo 13 is a movie, Hollywood drama, basically based on Apollo 13. I don't even like saying based because they did such a good job being accurate historically that it seems like I'm not giving them enough credit about the Apollo 13 lunar mission, with Jim Lovell, which is Tom Hanks, Fred Haise, which is Bill Paxton, and Jack Swigert, which is another Kevin Bacon appearance on this podcast.
Yes.
Everything goes according to plan. One of the engines goes bad on the way up, but no big deal there. And then they have an oxygen tank blow off because stirring the tanks malfunctioned. And then they have to give up on going to the moon, but they still have to go around the moon to propel back to Earth. They're doing everything they can not to die, whether it's carbon monoxide or making things with just basic supplies, or trying not to lose their heads talking to Houston. It was a great film based on a real event, and everybody in it, in my opinion, did an absolutely awesome job. What do you guys think about it?
I'd never seen it before.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Really?
All right. It's one that I've always wanted to see. Just never got around to it, I guess. I'm a busy man, fellas.
I'm really glad that you did. I really think that
I'm really interested
everyone
to hear
should.
what you think.
No,
why don't you lead off?
Very much liked it. especially
that'll do it, boys.
since
See
it
you guys
was
next week.
it was based on a true story. Like literally, it's what happened. The only thing different, from what I read, is some of the quotes didn't actually happen. It was for the movie, but
Right.
every factual, everything happened in real life. So thinking about that, like me thinking I'm in that situation is scary as hell.
Yeah.
And just the way they kept their composure, and they were able to continue the mission, and their mission changed to getting home, and they were able to succeed in some pretty crazy circumstances. So yeah, great movie.
Zach, I'm assuming you've seen this movie a few times.
I have. I think I watched it. I think the first time I ever watched it was in like, I don't know, in class, probably with one of you guys. I think I watched it in Franklin for school. But I'm trying to remember whose class it was. But anyway, Mrs. Crow's class. That's where I watched it. Anyway, this movie is one I'd put as in my like top 10, and I think it's great for so many reasons. And I'll just pick one, being that you can mesh all these actors together, and they all work really, 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 really well together, which is awesome. Of course, Bill Paxton, I'm just going to say he's the reason that it went bad, because he's the one who didn't he stir the tanks?
No, that was Kevin Bacon.
Was it? Well, screw it. Kevin Bacon can't.
Kevin Bacon followed the orders, and then
Bill
Paxton
just got sick, didn't he?
Yeah. He got sick. So they had
blame him for something.
Yeah, drinking his portion of water and then getting sick because of it. Yeah. So
yeah. No, but like, I like
also
these kind of movies.
Ed Harris was amazing in this movie.
Exactly. You pack as many people as you can in this, but even the ones like I'm talking about, just like on like in space, like that have to work together,
right.
Not with like Gary Sinise off pretty much acting by himself and with a couple other people. Like you got Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, Bill Paxton all together that have to act together. And of course, I mean, I don't think you can switch them up into different roles. I think Tom Hanks had to play that role. And then, I mean, but like I like these kind of movies back when, I mean, we've watched movies that have to go over that are based off of like true events and things like that. And I always enjoy a movie like that. And especially the fact that they were able to keep all the facts together for the most part.
Very accurate. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a good movie. Suspenseful. Even if you know what's going on, you're like right there into it. So
you're absolutely right.
It's a good movie.
So when we picked this movie, you guys said I think Jacob said you thought we might put this under Gary Sinise's, and when I was watching it, I was sitting there like, why would he say that? But then after he shows up later,
yeah, he's great in it. I think everybody really, it's amazing that you can take this many people. I mean, Tom, like you said, Tom Hanks, Bacon, Paxton, Ed Harris, Gary Sinise. You can take all these guys, and they all do a great job, and they don't step on each other's toes at all. They go in, they do exactly what they're needed to do. And they do an amazing job. I kind of threw it to you guys first to talk about what you thought, because I tend to go on a tangent, so I wanted to get you guys out of the way. I think part of the reason why I love this movie, and it kind of has a special place for me, is that our generation especially, we feel like we know so much and everything that there isn't a uniting American things that happened in previous generations. And it's really hard not to watch this movie and then feel some level of patriotism at the end. I mean, it's amazing how everything worked together, and you're pulling for them. And you've seen this movie, at least for me, I've seen this movie 100 times. And to have somebody that's like on the Mount Rushmore of acting like Tom Hanks in it is just an amazing movie. And I listened to other podcasts and read some stuff about it leading up to this. Just to make sure I kind of knew what I was talking about. And they almost had entire paragraphs of conversation down to the T. I mean, they did damn near everything exactly right. I saw on some forums and stuff, people were complaining that the most inaccurate thing that was in the movie was Gary Sinise kind of leaning on his car and watching it from a distance. I'm like, honestly, if that's what you're arguing about, you're totally missing the point of this movie. Exactly. Get over yourself. And come on, it's Gary Sinise leaning against a car. Who's not in for that?
Dude,
so we're watching NCIS for a second. But I mean, it's an amazing movie from top to bottom, and I absolutely love it. Who was it that picked this movie? Was that you, Zach?
I, sir.
You
did?
Yes. Yeah.
And you hadn't even seen it.
And I picked
Which-
Aliens and hadn't seen it, so
There you go.
so we're all over the place. But yeah, I would have picked this movie, I think, but I have a hard time deciding who like I give quote unquote credit to. But at the end of the day, there's so many great actors.
Yeah.
There's no point in saving movies
Yeah.
like this, you know. Just kind of get over it. And
You're
just do
right.
it.
You're right. Because I mean, honestly, I think he's the bottom of Bill Paxton. This is the bottom of all the actors that in this movie. However,
Well, of
And
the
did
four
nothing wrong.
astronauts, right?
of the 4 astronauts, that's what I mean. But like, you could argue that if when we're talking about any one of those guys, that this movie doesn't pop up again, like that's due to the movie. Who directed this, by the way, Jacob? Do you know who
Ron
directed?
Howard.
Not familiar. Does he do what else has he done?
I can look it up and not be wrong.
So to me, Bill Paxton is the ultimate side piece when it comes to movies. I think that's why it was a good pick for him. He's typically the side guy.
That's true.
Right. It's going to be hard to find movies that are quote unquote his and no one else's.
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't
really
make him
one.
bad.
Oh, Ron Howard is he's a Tom Hanks guy. He does Tom Hanks movies.
Yeah, well, that's a good wagon to hitch to.
You're right. You are right.
I cannot believe how much accidental Kevin Bacon we've had on this show so far.
Oh, dude, it's hilarious.
Like
we need
every
to- we need to have
episode
a
has
ticker.
Kevin Bacon. In the corner of our video, have a Kevin Bacon head. There.
Kevin.
Click.
Just a piece of bacon floating.
Or get we should get from Home Alone, the mom when she's yelling Kevin. We should just get that clip.
Kevin.
You've
Yeah.
got bacon.
I was going to tell you guys too. I looked up a little bit on how Ron Howard actually did this movie because at this point in time, I mean, there is some special effects. You can do some zero-G stuff. You can go to NASA space camp and kind of pull off some stuff for the sake of making a movie. But he didn't do that. I don't know if you guys looked it up, but Ron Howard didn't use any tech at all. He did the same thing that astronauts in training do. He takes them up in a Boeing Air KC-135 and drops them at 45-degree angles and makes them zero-G fly to
Nice.
actually float for real in the movie scenes. They did it so many times at the end, they were throwing up at the end, and it was a mess. But he got his shots, and it looks great. So
Bill Paxton
He's-
throwing up, was that real then? Or
I guess so. I guess so. They just kept it in the movie. But yeah, I mean, this movie is it's great. I'm glad that we picked it.
Yeah.
Tanner, how did you feel about it? I mean, how do you feel about we talked about the cast, but was there any like certain points in time that you really appreciated or?
I appreciate it as a whole. I think one of the reasons is 2016, I went to Patrick Air Force Base. I was on a team that was on a cyber inspection readiness team. So we went and helped them get ready for their inspections. And I actually got to go to Cape Canaveral. I was able to go in and inspect the mission control room that's on the movie. Like that's the room I was in inspecting. It was kind of surreal to be there, and just that kind of resonates with me while watching it.
Right. Zach, was there any kind of scenes or point in time where that just kind of hits you in a different way?
I liked, and it was part of the reason why I appreciate this movie too, because like some of the movies we've seen before where they try to base it off of something, they try to make somebody look bad, like a group or an organization look bad for some reason. And I thought they did a really great job at showing how the entire NASA team worked together and just like the way their mind, like it wasn't like just scripted, like, okay guys, here's the problem, and oh, this guy over here in the corner's got the answer, and here we go, like now we're going to start doing this. Like it was like methodical, and you could tell that that's probably exactly what people do in a type of environment like that, in an organization like that, where like we have to come up with like 20 different solutions, and then we're gonna brief those 20 different solutions, and we're gonna see which one's the best one. Then we're gonna take some from this guy and some from this guy, and we're gonna tie it together, and then finally some guy's in charge. Like that's what we do in the Army. Like when we're working as a staff, like we do things like that all the time when building different courses of action. And like I could appreciate that aspect of like they really appreciated probably what really happens, and then threw that in there where someone who maybe isn't looking at it like that is just like, oh, okay, cool, like they put in some good detail in the movie. But coming up with a way for them to filter out the carbon monoxide, and like, here's all this. I think I like that scene pretty cool, because they just dump all this stuff on the table and they're like, here's what they've got,
we're gonna make it happen.
Make it happen.
I was gonna say that too. I work with some engineers and things like that, and what we do is to make the jet better. We're test and eval, and if something goes wrong, if mission failure on this movie is catastrophic, like you can't live with yourself after it. That's kind of hard to think about, especially in the job, like the stuff I do. Like, okay, something didn't happen, we'll get them next time. It's not the end of the world. This one is literally the end of the world for these guys. That really did resonate with me.
Yeah. I liked it a lot, that scene where they dump everything out and just kind of say, listen, you got to make this work. There's been a lot of space movies, obviously, in the last 10 years, especially it feels like with Interstellar and The Martian and all those kind of movies coming out. Gravity, that it almost seems like that this movie is damn near perfect in what they're trying to accomplish, and as far as hitting all the right notes. And you can see parts of this movie in the others. I don't know if you guys have seen The Martian.
It's a great movie.
Oh my gosh. And the book that goes with it is even better.
I have not read that.
The audiobook version of it, the guy who reads it sounds just like Matt Damon, and it's absolutely necessary.
Perfect.
But and I was gonna bring that up too, that there's scenes in that, and he even says at the end of the book and the end of the movie for The Martian, he says, everything you do up there is trying to kill you or will kill you. If there's a problem, you fix the problem, you move on to the next problem. You fix it, you move on to the next, you fix it. You fix problems, and if you fix enough problems, you'll come back alive. Yeah. And I thought that was a very impactful quote from that movie, and it almost resonates to me watching this whole movie of Apollo 13, that, you just take one problem at a time, and you try to keep a level head, and you work with Houston, and you just get what you need to do done, and you might end up coming home at the end. And I mean, that's exactly what they did.
Yep, exactly.
And I know that this is a very quotable movie. Is there any quotes that, stick out to you guys right away when you think about it? Because I have about, 10, I think.
Well, the Houston one is probably like one of the most famous quotes in movie history.
Ever. Yeah.
Was that real? Did that actually? Does anyone know if they actually said that?
Almost. Yes. It wasn't Houston, we have a problem, but it was something very similar to it. Like, we got a problem up here, Houston, something like that. But they kind of reworded it to make it a little bit more slick.
More slick.
But it's like 90% correct. Yeah.
I'm sure that they didn't think that this was going to be a world famous quote either.
Right.
Also, it wasn't Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks isn't in the movie, but it was actually Swaggart that says it in real life. So,
and see, that makes sense. That makes sense because you're like, that's not really a technical way to say something. Like, hey, we've got a problem. Like, you don't usually say that over the radio, which makes sense then if Swaggart was more like that was his attitude and personality in real life, because that seems like something he would actually say.
Right. I listened to a lot of the audio from this Apollo 13 mission, and Swaggart does almost all of the talking. He like they portrayed him at the beginning of the movie. He's kind of the playboy, and he's kind of outspoken, and he was kind of known for that in real life as well. And he did a lot of the talking, a lot of the sarcasm in real life. And especially after watching the movie and how well they did, listening to the audio is kind of, it just like brings butterflies to your stomach hearing the real deal and realizing that what you watched and how close everything really was really did happen. The audio is amazing. Everybody's got it clipped on different podcasts and things like that, but actually if you go to NASA's website, you can find all the audio there. Everything is completely public. So
awesome.
Yeah. There's a lot of quotes, that I really liked. One of them, Tom Hanks, whenever they're trying to land it, he says, "Sorry, Jack, it's an old habit. Just kind of used to the pilot seat. She's yours to fly, though." And Bacon kind of looks over at him like, happy that he still trusts him, even though he's the one who actually performed what ended up being the problem, even though it really wasn't his fault. That one I really liked.
I like. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
He said, "I've never lost an American in space. Sure as hell aren't going to lose one now. This crew's coming home. You got to believe that. Your team must believe that." That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Tom Hanks's mom in this, Jean Howard, I think is maybe her name. She said, "Are you scared?" Well, don't worry, honey. If they can get a washing machine to fly, Jimmy could land it. I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, his wife says, "Blanche, these nice young men are going to watch television with you. This is Neil Armstrong, and this is Buzz Aldrin." Neil says, "Hi." And she goes, "Are you boys in the space program, too?"
He's like, my Jim's going to land on the moon.
They said they were going to have it on the TV.
The guys,
I actually heard.
What are you going to do?
I heard that the 2 of the 3 astronauts, the one that wasn't Swaggart, because Swaggart died of I think pancreatic cancer, but he died of some form of cancer right when he was elected into office.
Yeah.
So he wasn't in the movie, but actually the other 2, Fred and Jim, were in the movie in parts. One of them was in the crowd.
Jim was the ship captain
Ship captain, right.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other one, Fred, was in the crowd when they were getting ready to take off. He was just like a parent or like a family member in the crowd. So
nice.
I thought that was kind of neat too. So yeah, I mean, if there's anybody listening that has not seen this movie, it's an absolute must.
Do it. Yeah.
Just go do it. Pause this, even though we're done, and watch it, and then listen to the last 5 minutes. Well, you guys have anything else to say? Or you want to rate this bad boy?
There's honestly anything we say won't do it justice.
Really?
So
truly. Well, my opinion on it is very, very high. It's on my top 10, and it never gets old. I'm going to give it a whopping 9.5. Zach?
Yeah, I want to leave some room for something. I don't know yet, but this is I'll give it a 9.3.
I don't want to give you guys, make you guys feel like you got to go high. The reason why I'm going this high is because, I mean, it's just such a standalone movie, and it really shaped space movies moving forward.
Well, before you said anything, I had 9.6 in my head, and I think I can't think of an issue I have with the movie.
None. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Acting ability, and now we're talking about Bill Paxton. I think he did his job plus more. He doesn't have the same charisma that everybody else has, but at the same time, for what the writing was and how everything went, and the fact that he's sick and can't talk for half of it, I mean, I don't think anything's a detriment to him. I'm going to go to an 8.2.
I'm going to do a 7.5.
I had 8 in my head.
I thought you were going to say 0.3.
He played a sick man well.
Mm-hmm. The last category, obviously, is rewatchability. I've seen this movie just about as many times as any other movie, and I'd watch it tonight. So I'm gonna give it a 9.5 again.
So what's going to be qualification for a 10?
This I give it a 10.
I'm going to have to give this a 10.
Okay.
I'm going to give this a 10. Because this is without a doubt, like I would never not watch this movie.
Never not. It doesn't matter if there's only 2 minutes left. I'm still sitting for the last 2.
So, and that's why we have 3 different categories, because I'm not saying this is the absolute best movie ever. There are maybe a couple more, but rewatchability, 10.
It comes out at a rewatchability level of 9.8, and that feels right. I mean, honestly, it does. Sure. I can't not watch this movie. Apollo 13 comes out at 9.1, which obviously takes a monstrous lead over everything else we've watched. Right. The next highest thing before this week was Dirty Rotten Scoundrels at 7.4.
What was Dark Knight?
We didn't rate it. We started rating movies with Steve Martin.
Well, fans, now's your chance to rate the movie for us.
Yeah.
Right.
And but these ratings are more about the movie.
I'll rate those 2 movies. I'll rate that movie right now. If you want.
Okay.
That should be an extra. Or do it.
Can I do 11? I'm just kidding. All right. Well, we'll come back to that. Maybe that'll be.
Head on over to Patreon and check us a buck and
check us a buck segment.
And maybe we'll do a special episode just for.
Maybe we'll have a Patreon by then. If we do, it'll be in the description.
Just to give you guys an idea, finishing up with Aliens as well. Aliens 6.9, like I said, which was in between Dirty Rotten Scoundrels at 7.4 and just above The Jerk, which was 6.6.
Dang it, Zach.
Honestly, I've watched Aliens way more times over The Jerk.
I think I would
Respectfully
agree.
disagree.
I love The Jerk, but there's something about Aliens that just has this kind of
See, yeah.
Yeah,
See,
I'm
that's
more of
my
a
type of
comedy guy, but
movies.
I don't really. I'll
Right.
watch sci-fi, but I'm not a huge sci-fi guy.
I like to get lost in a world. Like when I went, if we ever do Avatar, which I don't see why we would ever do that movie, but if we did it,
do James Cameron.
well, if we do James Cameron, then maybe
Or
because
if we
it
do
did so
people
well.
that are the color blue, maybe.
Or if we do Sojourner Weaver, I mean, she's in that movie.
That might not
too.
age properly.
Hey, I'm telling you though, the first time I went to go see that, I went to go see it in. Actually, Tanner, I think I might have been with you.
Maybe.
I think we got off work at Hamilton's and we went over to Brad's house and we watched Avatar in his basement.
Yep, with Matt Nation.
And I think I watched it on that 3D screen that he had, and I was like, man, I feel like I'm in a spaceship right now. But anyway,
that movie gets a bad rap. People expected a lot, and it didn't deliver in a way that people were expecting. But I think the hype was just too real for it.
It's also somewhat anti-American-ish. It's kind of got a, it kind of has like a Pocahontas type deal. Like you go into a new world, you try to kill all the people in the new world,
right.
But then somebody wants to not kill all the people in the new world, you know.
Right. Very anti-Christopher Columbus is what you're getting at.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're talking about the guy who pretty much committed genocide on a bunch of...
Right. Well, we'll save that when we do James Cameron.
That was a quote. I was quoting someone.
Close friend or what?
No, if we ever do series, if we ever do a series and we do what's the movie? Am I saying Yellowstone? Yeah, Yellowstone. That would be. It's off of that.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, let us know if you guys are interested in us watching series.
Mm-hmm.
The fans, that is, not you two. I don't care what you think.
I wouldn't mind. So.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
Not with you though.
True.
Shit.
Okay,
well, since we said Yellowstone, I'll just jump straight into our next two movies. Zach picks Tombstone, and then our agreed upon Apex movie for Bill Paxton is Twister.
Hell yeah, I am excited. Zach, are you excited for Tombstone?
I'm super excited for Tombstone. Can't wait. It's like I just watched it.
Zach accidentally watched it instead of what we were supposed to watch.
Well, he's going to save his thoughts.
Definitely.
I will save my thoughts.
Thanks for watching and listening to another episode of Apex Mountain. You can hit us up on apexmountainpod@gmail.com. You can give us a call at 307-696-2650. Let us know what you think of the last movies. Let us know what you think of next week's movies.
Let us know what you think about the weather. Who cares?
Let us know how we're doing. Hit us up on Twitter and Instagram at Apex Mountain Pod. We are on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Pandora. What else? Spotify. If you're listening to it, I'm probably on one of those.
You'll find us. We're there. Check it out.
Your mom's heard of us. That was nothing but you, Jacob, for the last 30 seconds.
I know. I was like, do I want to actually stop and use my cursor and make my video stop? No, I'm just going to dance for 30 seconds. Hope it didn't sound too bad at the beginning. Now I'm nervous about it.
It was okay. Like, we could hear you.
Well, I went through like a 2-minute spiel about Dave Paxton growing up, and
yeah, true.
They heard like 1/3 of it. I'm sure that sounds perfect.
You can hear you. It just sounds muffled.
It kind of sounds like you're behind your computer. But it's okay.
Well, can't win them all.
Shit happens. You didn't buy that expensive microphone to use, right?
No, I didn't. I found this one in a dumpster.